Yesterday we were given a point and the slope. Today you're given 2 points. So the only difference is you have to find the slope first. I asked you guys this yesterday. I ask you again. What's the equation for slope? M equals, yep.
Y minus Y1.
Y2 minus Y1, X2 minus X.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. That is rise over run. Same thing. All right. You don't have to write any of this down. This is straight from yesterday's lesson. But this was the point slope formula we came up with using the slope formula. So you use m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You change some things around, and you get the point slope formula. All right, let's do some examples. So find the point slope equation given these 2 points. So notice it says point slope equation. That means you have to have the slope. Okay? You have a point, that's cool, but you need the slope before you can write the equation out. So step 1 is going to be to find the slope. All right, so there's your x1, there's your y1, x2, y2. So it's going to be 5 minus negative 3 on top over 2 minus 1 on bottom. What is 5 minus negative 3? 5 plus 3, right? Which is, right. 5 minus 3 is 2. 5 minus negative 3 is the same as 5 plus 3. Some of you like to, bless you.
Thank you.
Some of you like to do this where you change them both to plus. That works. And that's 8 on top and 1 on bottom, which you can just write as 8. You don't have to write it as a fraction. So make sure you find the slope first. Then write your point slope equation out, which we just had on the board. Y minus y1, still on the board, or kind of erased. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Okay, plug in the first point in m. Now that's important. Because you have 2 points, you could technically plug in either point to the equation, right? But that's kind of why you label your first point x1, y1. In other words, this is the point you'll be plugging, this is the point you'll be plugging into the equation, not the second point. Although you could actually, and the strange thing about that is you could plug in the second point and it'd be the same exact line. If you graphed them both, even though they look different, it'd be the same exact line. So we're going to plug in the first point. So we're going to plug in negative 3 for y1. Whoops, just minus. We are going to plug in 8 for m, because that's what we figured it out to be. And remember, you leave y and x the same. You only plug in x1 and y1. For x1, we're going to plug in 1, because that's what we figured out. And then the last step is to simplify. So how can you simplify this equation right here? Good. Minus negative 3 becomes y plus 3. So it's y plus 3 equals 8 times x minus 1. And just remember, that's your answer. Your answer is an equation in point slope form. And remember, the reason it's called point slope form is because you can easily figure out a point in the slope of the line looking at the equation. This number next to the parentheses is your slope, and then your point is the opposite of these signs. So this is minus 1 and positive 3. Your point is 1 comma negative 3. It's the opposite.
So that's all we're doing.
That's all you're doing, finding the slope and writing the equation for point slope. So everybody got that copy down? You still writing? Okay, you good? No, actually, yeah, we need to do 4 examples. Okay, so example 2, you have the point negative 4, 8, and y-intercept of 3. So you might look at this and say, well, they don't give us 2 points, but they actually do. the y-intercept is a point. So what's the point if it's just 3? 0, 3. Right. So the x-intercept would be 3, 0. The y-intercept means the x value is 0. And then 3 is your y value. So they technically do give you 2 points here. It's just, and I labeled that wrong. It's just in a different form. Still labeled it wrong. That should be y1. All right, I'm going to find my slope real quick. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals 3 minus 8 over 0 minus negative 4 equals negative 5 over positive 4, because it's 0 plus 4. There's your slope, negative 5 over 4. Okay, I'm going to write out my equation for point slope. Y minus y1 equals m x2 minus x1. I always write x2. It's just x. Sorry about that. X minus x1. So it's y minus the y1 value is 8 equals m, which is negative 5 over 4, x minus x1, which is negative 4. So you have x minus negative 4, which becomes what? Thank you, x plus 4. And that is simplified. And the next two examples are going to go real quick because we're going to use the shortcuts we learned yesterday. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on. Okay, so who can tell me what the shortcut is here? It says it passes through the points 4, negative 3, and 8, negative 3.
Both of the y values are the same.
Good, thank you. Both the y values are the same. So, because we've already done this yesterday, we know that the slope is going to be 0. So that whole right side of the equation that has the mx minus x1, if the slope is 0, the whole thing's going to become 0. The only thing you have to do is do y minus your y1 value, right? Or y2 value, it's the same thing. Both negative 3. So your final answer is y plus 3 equals 0. And again, that happens when your y values are the same. Now you could go through and do all your work, but we've done this enough to where I think you can just see that the slope is 0, so the whole right side of the equation can become 0.
Edward, can you go back to the last example?
Yeah. Who can tell me the shortcut for example 4? Says the points are my pen's not working, 2, 7, and 3, 7. And it says write an equation in point slope equation, in point slope form.
Equals x minus 1.
Okay. Oh, you know what? I wrote this wrong. I meant to make the x values the same. I'm changing this example. All right, let's try it again. I had flipped the points. Write the point slope equation for the line that passes through the points 7, 2, and 7, 3. So what do you notice given the 2 points?
X is going to cancel.
The x's are the same, right? Not the y's, but the x's. How does that affect the equation? What does that mean about the slope, actually? It's not 0, it's what?
Undefined.
Undefined. Okay, so remember from yesterday, 2 things happen. All right, since the slope is undefined, it literally just goes away, disappears. The second thing that happens is the y minus y1 becomes 0. The only thing you have to do here, actually, after that, is plug in your x1, which is the same as your x2. They're both 7. So I'm going to plug in 7 there. And then once you simplify that, you just get 0 equals x minus 7. Just take the parentheses away, and that's it. So those are the shortcuts for when x's are the same or then y's are the same. Other than that, all the steps are straightforward. I don't know if any of the points on there have the same x or y values. If so, you can use the shortcut. Yes?
Why did you have a list of 3?
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Always plug in the first point and your m value. on the worksheet.